Hey there, this is Dan. You're watching The Salty Sea, and I'm going to be showing you a battle report today. I'm trying a new series called 6-Minute Skirmish. If I don't manage to keep it under 6 minutes, you will see a different thumbnail that says 7-Minute Skirmish. But I'm going to be trying this hyper-fast skirmish series. Setting up the battle, we played Tides of Battle with Nighthaunt versus Slaanesh Sybarites. Tides of Battle is out of the new Rumble pack. 6 objectives, so before the battle, 6 objectives are placed on the battlefield floor as shown on the deployment map. After each initiative phase, the player who does not have the initiative picks one objective to be the primary objective in that battle round. The primary objective is worth 2, the secondary objective is worth, or all the secondary objectives are each worth 1, and we also, whenever you play a Gnarlwood Rumble Pack mission, you also choose a secondary objective. And so this secondary objective that I chose is called Strong Arm the Competition. We actually rolled for it on a dice. At the end of each battle round, each player totals the wounds characteristic of the fighters in their warband that are within 3 inches of the center of the battlefield. The player with the highest total scores 3 victory points. This ended up being very relevant throughout the game, but it essentially puts a 7th objective in the middle of the board. The lists were Nighthaunt running a Spirit Host, 3 Mirmorn Banshee, and 2 Dreadblade Harrows. The Sybarites were running 2 Fiend Bloods, a Slangor Slakehorn, and 3 Painbringers and a Twin Soul with Lash, separated into Hammer, Dagger, and Shield, as you see on screen. Let me show you how it looked on the map. The Nighthaunt are deployed here on the bottom right here in front of the screen, 3 inches from the side, and then you see across the field the Sybarites are deployed right here next to the tree. The Sybarites are also going to be coming in near the mining equipment and the Nighthaunt in the corner. And then on the other side it's flipped, so the Sybarites are going to be coming in on the corner, and the Nighthaunt will be on the side in the middle. Now at the end of round 1, it's a very short round, but we start with setting up a fight here in the center that'll be important for the rest of the game between the Spirit Host and the Slakehorn, and then the Painbringer and the Banshee are just each taking an objective. So round 1 ends with Sybarites winning 4-3. The Sybarites had more combined wounds on the center objective, or at least the ability to put more combined wounds there, and so they got to kind of dictate play in round 1. That comes from list building. Tactically, it was interesting. The Sybarites player, that was me, used a wait action to force the Nighthaunt to commit. Nighthaunt, though, found a space to count on both the side objective and the center objective without getting within 6 inches of the Slangor Slakehorn and thus denying slaves to impulse. That was a very nice little piece of positioning there. Now let's get on to round 2. In round 2, we pick up where round 1 left off with the fight in the center, and you can see the deployments here put the warbands pretty close to each other, which will be important. Right away, Nighthaunt used their large base here and their flying to body block Sybarites off of the objective. By the end of round 2, you see all of the Sybarites trying their very best to get past the Nighthaunt, but they win that objective 4. We also see heavy jockeying for position around the center. And then we also see a fight on objective number 6, and the Fiendblood won the fight on objective number 2 using slaves to impulse. So at the end of round 2, Sybarites are losing and Nighthaunt are winning 10-6. The highlight of this round was the epic body block where the Dreadblade Harrow traps 3 Sybarites in the corner and puts 8 damage onto the Fiendblood with an attack. A list building note here is that the strength 3 on the Painbringers really hurt them here because while they defend very, very well, they were not good at playing offense into the toughness 4 Nighthaunt and just could not clear that Dreadblade Harrow off the board, even with 2 attacks from a Fiendblood. And so we pick up where we left off at the end of round 2, and the Sybarites are going to be fighting that Dreadblade Harrow in the corner with the other fight happening in the center. The killing power of the Fiendbloods of the 2 Slangors here is going to be very influential for the round, as you'll see, forcing the Nighthaunt to use their abilities as aggressively as they can. So with the Slaanesh being able to finally bring down the Dreadblade Harrow, the Nighthaunt player chooses to, since the Spirit Host has already died, chooses to go over and outnumber the single Fiendblood on the corner objective number 2, bringing over the new Dreadblade Harrow and forcing the Fiendblood to try to get risky with slaves to impulse. So now at the end of round 3, you see that the Fiendblood was able to disengage and then use slaves to impulse to get a free move and an attack onto the Dreadblade Harrow, taking it out. And now Nighthaunt still hold round 3, but Sybarites are starting to spread across the board. And of course, we have this epic 1v1 battle on Objective 6. So round 3 ends in a near deadlock in points, with Slaanesh up 13-12. Some tactical highlights. The Slakehorn wins the center fight, and that forces Nighthaunt to get creative here. The Nighthaunt end up using their Resurrection to go up 2-1 on the primary objective, but then a disengage plus Slaves to Impulse allows the Fiendblood to get an attack on the resurrected Dreadblade. Nighthaunt are also able to sort of move from objective to objective so that they still hold 2 of the objectives on one side of the board, even though they only have one Mirmorn Banshee contesting them. Now let's get into round 4. So at the end of round 4, the Nighthaunt are able to take out the Fiendblood on objective number 2. However, the Slaanesh winning objective 6 means they control too many points for the Nighthaunt to be able to come back. So at the end of round 4 and the end of the game, the Slaanesh Sybarites are up 20-14 and are the winner of the game. A list building note, we discussed afterwards whether the combat downgrade of going from Mirmorn Banshee to Grimghast Reaper, they are a little bit less effective, would be worth having access to Soul-Marked Prey for the Spirit Host. You could maybe swap out one Banshee for one Grimghast Reaper, just to be able to help the Spirit Host. It lost the fight against the Slangor Slakehorn. Wow, I'll say that 5 times fast. And that ended up being very influential and sort of forcing the Nighthaunt player's hand on a lot of sort of tactics in the late game. Some of the tactical highlights of the game itself were the final resurrection on the attack, resurrected a Dreadblade Harrow in round 4 and attacked, slew the Fiendblood, and then went over to contest another objective. Unfortunately, Slaanesh was able to clear that Dreadblade Harrow that was very weakened off of that objective. The corner Painbringers were able to spread out across the board and then take enough objectives to win the game for Slaanesh. Let me know if this sort of speed format for a battle report works for you, and I'll keep tinkering with it as we go forward. So until the next video, may all your rolls be crits.